I'm Marty Stauffer. Ground squirrels are some of our most prolific creatures. They're plucky, lively, and entertaining. Join me as we learn why ground squirrels are much more than just little varmints.
So here is our Rise of the Varmints deck for Standard, and this deck is super cheap, 30 bucks a paper, 8 total rares on Magic Arena, and the goal of the deck is to maximize the power of one of the sweetest build-around uncommons from Outlaws of Thunder Junction in Rise of the Varmints. So Rise of the Varmints, 4 mana green sorcery, except we can plot it for 3, and we often do want to plot it. If we plot it, we can cast it for free in a future turn, so we can do this early in the game, keep self-milling to fill our graveyard to maximize its power, cast it for free, and have our mana open to protect it. And then it says create X 2/1 green varmint creature tokens, where X is the number of creature cards in our graveyard. So the goal of our deck, it's pretty simple. Self-mill aggressively to fill our graveyard with creatures to power up Rise of the Varmints, and also find our Rise of the Varmints and then use it to win the game with a huge swarm of Varmints. When it comes to self-mill, we got a bunch of different cards, but the two best and most important, Felicia Archaeologist, Picklock Prankster. The upside of these cards is not only do they mill to fill our graveyard, but if we mill a Rise of the Varmints, we get to put it back in our hand. So it's mill that also finds our big payoff. We also have Gnawing Vermin to mill. Aftermath Analyst, one of the funniest cards in this deck. We're not doing anything scary with this card. Like, it's self-mill that sometimes ramps a little bit in our deck. No combos, nothing like that. Not like the Teamer Analyst deck. But people are really afraid of this card. Every time it hits the battlefield, you see people spending their premium removal on it because they're expecting some broken combo. They don't know that we're not doing that, and we're just playing it super fairly. So it's pretty funny to see how much it dies instead of some of our other stuff. Cruel Somnophage mills eventually gets big. So this is kind of the mill plan of our deck. Fill the graveyard with these creatures, self-mill, hopefully get Rise of the Varmints big enough that we can make like 10 Varmints with it, and that's often enough to win the game by itself. We also have a couple of plans to make sure we can get the Rise of the Varmints back from our graveyard. So Dryad's Revival, it just lets us return a card from our graveyard to our hand. Most importantly, it has Flashback. One of the problems I ran into with the early builds of this deck is we sometimes had games where we just milled all the Rise of the Varmints and couldn't actually like win the game, because if we don't find Rise of the Varmints, we're playing all these really janky underpowered self-mill creatures. So if we mill all of them, it's really bad. Dryad's Revival kind of fixes that. We can mill the Dryad's Revival, flash it back either to just get a Rise of the Varmints, or if it's in the late game we get a lot of mana, we can flash it back to get Shigeki, and then Shigeki can get back like 2 or 3 copies of Rise of the Varmints, and then we can use those to win the game. The last piece of the puzzle is Urtai Resurrected. So this is a card that we're spending half of our budget on. We have 8 rares, 4 of them are Urtais. When I first built the deck, I didn't have Urtai, and I ran into one really big problem. And the problem was, I kept making these huge boards of Rise of the Varmints, and then our opponent would just untap and be like Sunfall, or Farewell, or Deadly Cover-Up, or Path to Peril, or any of the other million Wraths we have in Standard. So it was doing the thing, but the thing just wasn't working because of Wraths. I realized Urtai's like the perfect card for this deck. So Urtai can counter a spell, can also kill something. The big deal here is we can plot Rise of the Varmints, so we can cast it for free. That lets us leave up our mana for Urtai. So we Rise of the Varmints off plot for make like 10 Varmints, and then we can Urtai to stop our opponent's Sunfall or Farewell or Deadly Cover-Up, whatever sweeper they're playing, and then get in that one huge Varmint attack to win the game on the spot. Otherwise, Chupacabra app goes, shoot the sheriff, go for the throat, a little bit of removal. Mana base, pretty janky. It's all the fetch lands. The one rare we have here is Take Numa, which is another way to get back like Shigeki to get back Rise of the Varmints, but a pretty nice budget-friendly mana base. And that is Rise of the Varmints for Standard. That's our budget Magic deck for today. So let's jump into some games and see just how many Varmints we can make in Outlaws of Thunder Junction Standard. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap-up. Need some Magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. We've got new tokens and playmats, and you can even get the tokens signed if you want. Check them all out over at mtggoldfishmerch.com. Budget Magic time. This week, we are, hopefully, causing the Varmints to rise in Standard, and the sand, looks fine. Unfortunately, no blue mana at the moment, but, I mean, we got lands, we got removal, we got Aftermath Analyst, which is actually, like, good in our deck because it's bad in our deck, as strange as that sounds. Let's see what our opponent's up to here. Mountain. And wow, the unpretentious main phase turn 1 play with fire to the face, rise to the top. Well, we're gonna run out Aftermath Analyst. The reason Aftermath Analyst is good in our deck is because actually we don't really care about the ramping too much. Like, we do it sometimes, but it's not like very important to our plan at all. It just kind of like thins our deck. But people are very scared of it because of the team. Again. Okay, our opponent is the least pretentious mono red player I've played in a minute. Opponent runs out Kimono, sure. So people tend to overvalue Killing Analyst, even though, like, it's not like we're comboing with it or anything. And then our other stuff might live. Grab a swamp. Unfortunately, I wish it was an island, but that's fine. We'll find blue mana eventually. Opponent taking up the Saga. Double removal, actually kind of triple removal is good. Godric, sure. That's fine. We will kill it. I guess we shoot the Sheriff. I don't know if they have any Outlaws incidentally in their deck. Well, all right, Gnawing Vermin mills at least. Please don't mill our lands. Okay, 2 non-lands. That's actually a very good mill. Thank you, Vermin. What's the difference between a Vermin and a Varmint? Is there a difference? Rise of the Vermin. Opponent flips their Saga. We do need another land. Getting down this Chupacabra coast would be sweet. Old 2-for-1. Opponent. What? Okay. Well, maybe I take it back. Maybe people are not afraid of Aftermath Analysts. Maybe they're not afraid at all. Opponent Obliterating Bolts the Rat. Hey, there's the land. And this does get us blue mana. We are going to do it. Like, we gain, what, 2? So we can block, sack, gain 2, get an Evolving Wilds to get a blue source. So this is fine. Opponent. Wow, even better. Gonna gain us even more life. Oh, you will sack it. Get back our lands. So, get a forest, get a swamp, gain some life. Actually, do we just go swamp? Probably go swamp. The only thing we need double green for is really playing and activating Analyst in the same turn. I mean, we're at 17. We haven't found Rise of the Varmints yet, but we're filling our graveyard. We're going to get our blue mana here. It's a little tepid, but sure, that's fine. Crack the Terramorphic Expanse. And... all right, more vermin. Well, let's Chupacabra. Get rid of those silly etchings. And I guess we just pass and leave up Go for the Throat in case they have some big slick shot show-off turn or something. Phoenix Chick. Are we pump spelling? If they pump spell... oh, all right. We're gonna kill the Chupacabra, sure. We don't actually care about that. That's fine. Chupacabra down. If they like Monstrous Rage, we'd probably kill the Phoenix Chick. So right now it's gonna make 5 2-1s. We can mill first. Let's see how many creatures we hit. Let's Picklock Prankster. 1, 2, 3 more creatures. We can also Varmint. Come on. Let's get lethal in 1 attack. Hit another creature or 2. Oh, no creatures. 8 2-1s. Let's just wait 1 more turn. We only have to go for... I mean, it'd probably be fine just to play it there, but we're in, like, such a good position at the moment. I don't think we need to rush it. Opponent hits us to 13. We draw... ooh, Blanchwood Prowler. Okay, so let's do a little prowling. We just want more creatures in the graveyard to make more Varmints. All right, there's 2 more creatures, and we get an untap land. Ooh, wait, does this mean we get to... oh, we get to Fleet Archaeologist too? Okay, Archaeologist. Mill 2 more. How could this go wrong? They're playing some sweeper in mono red. Let's attack first, I guess. Yeah, we gotta do it. Let's make the Varmint. 12 Varmint. Opponent, if you got End the Festivities or something, then I guess you get us, but Opponent Mountain. And can you beat the Varmint? They have risen. Just a bloodthirsty adversary. And that looks like game to me. Like, our opponent can kill something and block, but we made 12 Varmint. And I mean, that's the power of Rise of the Varmints. Like, it builds a lethal board. And as long as your opponent can't sweep it, GG's. Opponent. Wow, we took down mono red. All right, Varmint. Off to a good start. All right, this is fine. A little awkward that we're not going to have all 3 colors. Ooh, Lava Spur Boots. A little awkward. Well, okay, there we go. Now we get all 3 colors of mana. How do we want to do this? So Terramorphic to get an island. We will unpretentiously crack it main phase. Actually, lazily. I think it's lazy more than anything. I mean, Tishana's Tidebinder is an actual reason to crack your fetches when your opponent's tapped down, but opponent doesn't have enough mana for it. All right, opponent, what are they doing with Lava Spur Boots? Pyrotechnic Performer, sure. Well, we will play land and do a little archaeology. Mill. Archaeologist whiffs quite a bit in our deck, which is perfectly fine. It just adds a big butt to the battlefield and fills the graveyard. Opponent, Ancestral Anger. So now they have a trampling Pyrotechnic Performer. Lava's for Boots, grows it again. And Ancestral Anger. It's a lot of work to deal like 3 damage because we're just gonna chump. But sure, down to 17. Got us. Forest. That's not bad. Now we can play the Vermin. Not Varmint. Varmint are coming. Vermin are here. And do some more archaeology. Dig in to find some varmints. And ooh. Wow, now we got 2 in hand. Now we kind of just want to untap land. If we draw an untap land, I think, especially since we have 2 Rise of the Varmints, I think we just fire one off. About it. So maybe some sort of like weird fling deck getting in. Sure, let's block and block. I mean, this works out pretty well, right? Because we get to kill the Pyrotechnic Performer, essentially just for free. Cannot stop the Varmin. Varmint. Opponent passes. What is the difference? I know I asked that once. I'm gonna have to Google that. Well, Riveteer's Outlook. Grab a Schwamp. So now we have Chupacabra Echoes online, and we can do a little plotting. Opponent, you know your demise is coming. One of the things that I love about plot is you're just like, here it is, opponent. we're gonna make a bunch of varmint. Like, you know it's coming. Beat it if you can. Like, it is a little weird flavor-wise that the plot is so transparent. You would think if you're plotting, like, some big crime, you'd probably do it in secret and not be like, hey, everyone, here's my plot. So that part, I don't really get the flavor of, but I do like the flexing aspect of it. Found it. I mean, they could have a counter, right? A counter is a possibility. Okay, a little pumping. Sure. Pumping and sacking, and we're gonna take 12. Ooh, all right, that's actually kind of a lot of damage. Good thing we have these fetch lands to gain life. Back up to 7. And do we just double Varmint? I think we do. Varmint, make 8 of them. Varmint again, make 8 more. If you can deal 7 damage through 16 Varmints, opponent, then I guess you got us. Do your worst. Opponent. I mean, if they can pump this up to 7 power, they can. Wow. They need 1 more pump spell, and they just get us with the Epica. No, Thrill Seeker. Wrong Voldaren. Too many Voldarens in Standard these days. Opponent. Picnic Ruiner. All right, that should do it. Well, Varmint. Do your blocking. We're just gonna put. Well, I mean, we're not gonna put all of them. Our opponent's empty-handed. Enough to soak up all the damage. So we should take 0. They can stack the Thrill Seeker, but it's not quite lethal. Wow, that was close. That actually ended up being close. That scamp play where they 12'd us out of nowhere was actually pretty scary. Opponent hits us down to 2, but now, wow, we drew another one. Yeah, I mean, let's send the message in. Sweet. Varmint time. And this hand, it's fine. We are lacking a color of mana, but about it. Weed on a Triumph. Domain, maybe? Gotta be, yeah, up the beanstalk. All right, looks like Domain. Well, let's see how this goes. Let's play Take Numa. Get down the Blanchwood Prowler. Do a little milling. Ooh, triple lands. Huh. Let's grab the Forest. That was probably wrong. We probably should have grabbed the blue sword. So let's see if we get punished for that. So untapped lands are pretty valuable for our deck because we have so many tap lands. But blue mana, also valuable for our deck. I think it might have been better just to grab the blue mana there. Opponent. Speaking of fixing the manas, grabs a swamp. Well, let's Riveteer's Overlook. Grab a Schwamp. And we're gonna run out the Aftermath Analyst. I imagine our opponent's probably gonna kill it because they got the fear. They have the fear of the Analyst, but wow, okay. They're not gonna kill it. Opponent does not have the fear or the removal, one or the other. Opponent's just gonna Invasion Zendikar, ramp. Well, I mean, I guess this is one way to get our blue mana. Oh, that is the main upside of this analyst here, is we actually are going to get a blue source. Thank God. Our deck doesn't really do anything with having a ton of mana. Analyst is mostly there to just mill, and then it thins our deck, so we hit more action, but... I mean, I guess it's nice being like Varmint and leave up in Urtai or whatever, so there is upsides, but it's not really an important part of what we're doing. All right, Sagma Analyst. Bones got the Sunfall. We will get some blue mana finally. Grab an island. I mean, this is not a devastating Sunfall by any means. So initially when I built this deck, I tried to build a 0 rare build of it, and it was similar to this build, but it didn't have Urtai. And there were a lot of games where I just like make Varmint or Vermin and they just get Sunfalled. Having Urtai, I think, really helps fight through the sweeper decks. Worth adding a couple of rares to the deck just to have a chance in those matchups. All right, well, Archaeologist down. Doesn't have anything super relevant. Our Rise of the Varmint. We got the Urtais in hand and the mana. Virtue. Yeah, that's probably good enough to spend an Urtai on. The Urtais are incredibly valuable. We really want to save them for Wraths, but I'm not sure we can beat that Virtue here. Well, let's fill our graveyard a bit first. We can do a lot of milling this turn. Mill, 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 mill. Get back a Picklock Prankster. Go to combat, hit ya. Actually, we probably gotta. Yeah, let's just plot. Do the flexing. Let our opponent know that their death is coming. I think we gotta leave up the Urtai. It would be nice to cast another mill spell, but I think leaving up a counter is probably better. Opponent. Well, that's fine. If you want to Sunfall away our Urtai. That means our opponent's down 2 Sunfalls already. They've put a Sunfall on 1 creature and then 2 creatures. And that was with the Rise of the Varmints being plotted. Like, our opponent can see it. They can see it. That is a aggro Sunfall. Unless they just have another one. Maybe they just have another one in hand and they're like, whatever, we got it covered. But it's gotta be risky, right? To fire off a Sunfall to get 2 low power creatures when Rise of the Varmints chilling in exile. Ooh. Cruel Somnophage. That's actually kind of nice. So we do some milling and then we can cast it and get a big ol' horror. I kind of wish we had more blue mana to chain together more mill spells. You know what? I think we're gonna go shields down here. Let's do it. Let's do a little milling. We just want to maximize this Rise of the Varmint. Ooh, we get a second one? Aw, but we tapped all of our green mana. Alright, we'll pass. I mean, we're doing alright. We're doing alright. Even if they have a Troxa, it's not that bad. We can just Chupacabra it. They do draw a ton of cards, which is awkward, but... So right now we make 9 Varmint. Herd Migration, sure. I mean, our Varmint can handle that, I think. This one's gonna be interesting. Opponent, Incubator. Makes a 1/1. Incubator. Makes a 2/2. And passes. Well, let's play the fetch. Do we even have lands to get anymore? 1 forest, alright. Are we defensive varminting? We can mill first. Yeah, let's do a little archaeology. Hit nothing of note. 10 2/1s. Technically for free. And then 1, 2, 3. I guess we just plot another one for the future. They do have the 1/1 they can jump with. Yeah, that makes sense. If they like triple, quadruple blocked or whatever, we're kind of fine with that. Just cleaning up a bunch of the 3/3s. We have more creatures, but our opponents are bigger. About it. Archangel of Wrath. I mean, that's pretty good here, but I think we gotta value this, holding onto this Urtai. Not good enough to get the Urtai. Sure. The Angel takes down 2 of the Varmints. Invasion of Zendikar. So if our opponent attacks here, I think we just do like a ton of blocking and try to clean up the board and then win with the second Rise of the Varmint. If they don't attack, then I guess we just go super wide with the second Rise of the Varmint and try to win that way. We need to get through with, what, 10 of them? So we don't have lethal this turn either way. Oh, they're gonna try to flip the invasions. All right, well, I mean, we're still gonna clean up the board, I think. So block, block. The nice thing about Varmints is there's a lot of them. They just keep coming. Block, 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 block. I mean, so basically we traded most of a Rise of the Varmints for most of a Herd Migration and a Topiary Stomper. If we didn't have the second one already plotted, it might be different. We can also Chupacabra Echoes this Archangel to make sure that's not an issue. We don't really want our opponent gaining life. So, 4 manas. Let's Chupacabra Echo. 20 permanents in the graveyard. More than enough to kill the angel. 1, 2. Yeah, I mean, we can... I mean, this is the power of plotting, right? We get to do all this stuff and still cast our Rise of the Varmints. Ooh, and there's a way to get back at Rise of the Varmints. Okay, 13 this time. 13 Varmints assembled. Get in with the 15-15 Somnophage. Little block in. Uh-huh. Well, I mean, and now you see the power of the plot. You see the power of the plotting. We have the Urtai, right? So we have the Urtai. So if our opponent does have the Sunfall, which I would hope they did the way they played this game. If they don't, it's going to be very awkward. Okay, so they do have another Sunfall. We get to Urtai it. If they have the 4th Sunfall, then I guess they got us. Otherwise... I mean, even if they have the 4th Sunfall, do they even get us? Not really. We can just try as a revival back, a Rise of the Varmints, and do it again. Atraxa. Does Atraxa matter? Not really. Wow, do we just not care about Atraxa at this point? Are the Varmints so strong that Atraxa doesn't matter? It's kind of starting to look that way. Because we can just try as a revival back removal spell and kill it, and then Alpha Strike here. It has a ley line binding that can kill a thing, probably the 15-15. And draw a card. I mean, this was Domain on the play, turn 2 Beanstalk, triple Sunfall, and we still got him with the Varmint. This wasn't like Domain had some bad draw or something. They cast the Herd Migration, 3 Sunfalls, Atraxa, like they're popping off. Varmint's better. Varmint's better. Who would have thought about it discarding the hand size? Well, we will just do a little revivaling here. Get back a Echo. And with 1 mana, our opponent shouldn't be able to stop any of this. Get rid of the Atraxa and swing with the crew. Like, even if they have another removal spell, they're still just super dead, right? The Varmint's gonna weasel their way in for more than lethal. Well, nice Atraxa, I guess. Should have played the Varmints. Budget Magic time. We are attempting to Rise of the Varmints in Standard. Ooh, opponent Orzhov. This hand... Lacking blue mana, but we do have a Blanchwood Prowler, probably better known as the worst Satyr Wayfinder ever. But we do have that to try to find it. And we got the Varmints, which is, oh no, is this Control? Oh, Siphon Insight. So I will say, Control is the matchup I'm most scared of by far. Like, in theory, we can beat Control. In theory. In practice, it is not very easy. Well, Blanchwood Prowler did not completely fail us, but it didn't find us blue mana. So against Control, what we got to try to do is we have to try to get the game in a position where we can cast a lethal Varmints or multiple Varmints and have up at least 1 Urtai to counter the Wrath. So that's what we're playing towards here. It can work. It can work, especially if we're fast enough. The longer the game goes, the harder it gets, because if our opponent gets up to like 8 mana or 9 mana, then they can cast their Wrath and also counter Urtai, and then we're just kind of out of luck. But yeah, the number of Wraths makes it a tricky matchup. Well, chip in with a Blanchwood Prowler, but take 1 opponent. Good news is, siphoning away our deck doesn't seem that great, because what are you going to steal? A bunch of janky self-mill creatures? Wandering Emperor. That's not great for us. Okay, they spend it exiling the Prowlers, so I guess that's slightly better. I think that making a 2/2. Why didn't they just make the 2/2 during combat and eat? Yeah, alright, whatever. Whatever, I guess I wanted to leave up their mana in case we did something, but joke's on you, opponent. We got no blue mana. We can't do any... I mean, I guess we could cast a Chupacabra for no value, but... yeah, we're not doing much. Opponent. Gonna make a 2-2. And passes. Hey! There's some blue manas. Blue manas for next turn. Well, grab an island. And we'll run out of Chupacabra now. At least it kills something. Get rid of the token and have a way to pressure the Wandering Emperor. If our opponent wants to counter this, that's kind of fine. Well, alright. Samurai down. Go for the throw. Uh-huh. Going to tick up. Wow, another Rise of the Varmints. I mean, at some point we're gonna be able to cast a lot of Rise of the Varmints. I just don't know how we get through the Wrath. Well, Picklock Prankster into more Pranksters. I guess we just keep plotting these Rise of the Varmints. That seems like the thing to do. Yeah, let's just plot another Rise. And so right now our Rise of the Varmints makes 5 tokens. The other question is how many of them will even resolve. Opponent, Cycles, Memory Deluge. We can't really afford to spend Urtais to counter counters on the Rise of the Varmints. We gotta save them for Wrath.
May your blade strike true.
Well, Blanchwood Prowler. I think we gotta wait another turn at least and do a little more milling. Hopefully, Blanchwood Prowler. Okay, we did get a land. Terramorphic expands. Well, play it and crack it before we accidentally mill all of our basics. Grab a forest, and yeah, I mean, I don't think we're spending this Urtai on literally anything until we're protecting Rise of the Varmints, so we might as well do some more milling. Our Rises make 10 tokens now. 10's kind of a big number, because 10 is a number that gives you 20 damage on an empty board. Now that our opponent's board's empty, Memory Deluge. The downside of all this is our opponents had forever to sculpt a hand to defend against this, with like multiple Memory Deluges. So even after all this, I'm not convinced it's gonna work the way we want it to. Opponent digging up the Wandering Emperor. Well, I mean, we might as well block. That's more Varmints. That is one of the nice things about this deck. We can pretty aggressively jump block. Is it Varmint time? I think it's Varmint time. Well, here goes nothing. This is pretty much the game. Rise of the Varmints number 1. Opponent knows it's there because it's been plotted forever and negate. All right. Well, good thing we have more. Rise of the Varmints number 2. Well, how about number 3? Rise of the Varmintron. Can we get one of these through? If they counter this one, then I guess we have to Urtai. Okay. I would feel better if we had another blue source and we could double Urtai, but we got a shot. We have a lethal board of Varmints. Okay, 10 attackers. Go for the throw. Okay, so not quite a lethal board, but an almost lethal board. Can this Urtai do its job and protect the Varmint? Sunfall. Well, we will Urtai. About it. Oh, resolves. Okay. Sunfall down. Oh, can they Wrath again? 1, 2, 3. Oh, they could. They do have 5 mana. Opponent gonna make it 2-2. Unfortunately, we don't quite have lethal here. I guess if they don't have any removal, I expect that they have removal. But we can shoot the Sheriff a blocker, and technically this does give us lethal, right? I don't know. I don't trust it against control with 5 cards in hand, but hopefully they have a Wandering Emperor, and then we win. All right, go for the throw. Yeah, I think we let it go. That's tough, but they still have 4 cards. And mana. Okay, Ganjo. Well, we made the right choice. We wouldn't have won even if we countered it, so... Well, now our hope is, opponents only got 3 cards in hand. They don't only need a Wrath, they need Wrath plus counter. And they didn't have the counter last turn, or they would have cast down the Urtai 1. So did our opponent top deck? Farewell. All right, Urtai. No. Well, farewell to the Varmint, and farewell to this game. This is close, man. Oh, we'll keep it. It's very expensive. We only have 2 lands. Shigeki is going to be key. Like, if we can actually get a ramp off with the Shigeki, the hand's probably pretty good. If the Shigeki just dies, then we might be in trouble. Well, that's a color that probably... Oh, Tiny Bones joins up. Well, actually, let's discard Chupacabra. Let's Riveteer's Outlook. That is a land. It is tap, but it is a land. We'll grab a Swamp. Yeah, we'll see. Case of the Stashed Skeleton. Well, there's an untap land. Now that we discarded the Chupacabra, that would have actually been good. Well, get down the Shigeki, play the Terramorphic, pass the turn. Opponent. Corpses of the Lost. Opponent's actually a skeleton deck. That's cute. That's cute. We'll get our island. We might be dying to skeletons. Our Shigeki is about to live, though. That's sweet. Opponent hits us down to 16. So we can, I guess we got an Archaeologist and play the untap land. Yeah, let's Archaeologist. Do a little digging. We find some Varmints? Ugh, no. 2 lands and an Urtai. Well, pass the turn. Archaeologist is a good blocker. Like, the 1/4 body that mills 3 is actually just good in our deck. Oh, 1 card off. There goes the Rise of the Varmint. All right, they're going to cut down the Archaeologist. I guess we're blocking and ramping. We don't really want Tiny Bones to cast something, so block it. Oh, boy. Shigeki. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Oh, wait. Wait. I mean, we got to do it. It'd be so much better. The thing I'm afraid of is our opponent's at the Gisa point of the game, and they got the Tiny Bones joins up. And Gisa cares about skeletons, so you know they're playing it. And if they have Gisa here, it probably just overwhelms. Well, yeah, that's what we were afraid of. It probably just overwhelms our Varmints, like the amount of zombies they can make. So we drop to 9. Opponent goes on the big attack. Gisa also gives their stuff Menace. Oh, that's so bad. We're going to use almost all of our Varmints here. If we draw an untapped land, we can kill the Gisa. Painfully with Urtai. I guess that's our best bet. If this Gisa lives, it keeps getting real. Oh, and it turns on their case. Well, okay, there's the untap land. I mean, we gotta kill it. We don't have a choice. I kind of wish we had kept the Chupacabra. I think in general it's right to keep Urtai because countering plus killing is just better than killing, but in this case, Chupacabra would have been better because now our opponent gets to draw a card. Gisa down, but our opponent, they still have this silly Corpses of Lost. They can tutor. So they can just get another Gisa if they... Oh, they can just get another Gisa. Yeah, okay, we're probably still dead. I mean, just cracking this to get a Gisa seems... Oh, wait, they're a land short. Okay, so they can't play the Gisa this turn. That makes things slightly better. I mean, we're still in a really bad spot. We need to top deck another Rise of the Varmints. If we top deck another Rise this turn, maybe we have a chance. Opponent. Forsaken Miner, and haste it in. We will block, and we will block, and drop to 2, and pray for some Varmints. Yeah, opponent can pick it back up. Gnawing Vermin. Well, that's not the Varmints we wanted. It is a cheap blocker, though. I mean, technically, we're not dead on board, right? We can block, we can flash an Urtai, kill something, block. We are only at 2, though, so it's still a bad... Yeah, that actually, we died to Sandstorm Verge. I've never died to that card before. I've never even seen anyone play it before, but got us good. Budget magic time. We are trying to help the Varmints rise in Standard. Got all of our colors of mana, which is nice, because sometimes we don't with this deck. Well, Obscura Storefront. Did you know Picklock Prankster works through Landline of the Void and Rest in Peace? I didn't actually realize that until I was playing Pioneer and someone did it against me. But yeah, the way it's worded, because it says from among the milled cards. So even if there's a replacement effect, putting the cards in exile, you still get the card, assuming you mill one. Tenacious Underdog, eh? Oh, some Golgari action. Mid-range and best of one. Oh yeah, so you probably noticed we're best of oneing this week. This deck, so the problem in best of 3 is Aftermath Analyst combo is really popular. And because that deck's really popular, everyone's packing Graveyard Hate, and this deck is not going to win through Rest in Peace. It is just not happening. So yes, I would not play this one. I tried it in best of 3. It's not worth it. I would not play it in best of 3. But it is cool in best of 1, and it is super cheap. And our fairy hits you for 1. We probably just got to kill this Yeah, Glissa. Glissa drawing cards here would be less than optimal for us. Opponent getting in. Well, let's shoot the Glissa. We will take the 3. All right, opponent. Liliana A. Okay.
Enough.
I mean, we
with
got
the
some extra
mysteries.
lands we can discard
Don't
here.
overthink things.
Opponent discards another underdog. Ah, the Shagik. So Urtai can just snipe Lily. I guess we will attack the Lily, though. We don't want it to ultimate, but ticking up doesn't seem like the absolute end of the world. We kind of want cards in the graveyard anyway. Get to 6 mana. I guess we just pass. We can discard the Shigeki, and then we can Urtai if we need to. What we really want is just to draw Rise of the Varmints. That would be sweet. Opponent going to take up.
You won't be outsmarting
Well,
me.
Shigeki down. Opponent, Sheoldred's Edict discarded. Gonna hit us down to 14. And Mosswood Red Knight. Yeah, draws a card. Mosswood Red Knight. Ooh, Beseju. And Graveyard Trespasser. Oh, I might be kind of an idiot. We should just counter that. Oh, no. Well, that was a punt. Because we got to kill... yeah, I didn't think it through before I clicked OK. We do need to kill this Trespasser. Because if we flash in the Urtai, now we can attack down the Liliana, too. Doing it... Well, okay. Rise of the Varmints. Doing it this way, we had to discard to ward, when if we countered it, we wouldn't have to. There's only 3 Varmints, but... I mean, 3 bodies on the battlefield seems fine. Can we overcome our punt? I mean, the lesson, and I mentioned this before, everyone punts. But, and that's like one of the most brutal examples of it. Ooh, Somnophage, that's not the worst. It's gonna be kind of big, and we can mill first. But this is a perfect example of it. Punting like that's kind of embarrassing, right? Like, no one wants to misplay. But when it happens, you just gotta make the correct play. Like, the tempting thing to do, and it doesn't work if you're recording a video for YouTube that people are gonna watch, but it's tempting to be like, you know what, I just won't play this Urtai this turn. You know, I'll just hold it, pretend like none of this ever happened, so my opponent won't know, you know, that I messed up. But you gotta bite the bullet and make the correct play from the position you're in after the punt. And we might be rewarded for it because we have an 11-11 now. And wait, did we just win? Is this game? Shoot the Sheriff. Opponent went greed mode, drawing cards, leaving them open to a removal spell. And, well, apparently Rise of the Varmint's strong enough that it can overcome our punting. You know, that's a sign of the good deck, when we can punt our way through and still win. Budget magic time. We are trying to Rise the Varmints in Standard. And this sounds pretty good. Let's start with a storefront to get a swamp. Gotta have all of our colors here. I mean, so we have some milling. We have Aftermath Analyst, which occasionally does things. Oh god, Control. Are we up against Control? Forest. And Blanchwood Prowler. Do a little millage. Oh, it's Esper. All right, Deep Cavern Bat. Blanchwood Prowler whips a lot. Thankfully in our deck, it's kind of okay. We'd rather have it hit most of the time. Opponent's gonna take the Shoot the Sheriff. That makes some amount of sense. Well, let's beat down with the Prowler. But it does whiff a lot. I mean, Satyr Wayfinder whiffs a lot, and you can see 4 cards with Satyr Wayfinder. Blanchwood Prowler, you only see 3. The whiff rate is kind of high. Well, let's play the Analyst. Make him kill it. Actually, we don't even have enough lands in our graveyard to have them care about it, do we? I don't know. People got the fear of the Analyst. Yeah, opponent's gonna kill it. People are just so afraid. The World Soul Rage deck has people on edge about leaving an Analyst on the battlefield. Well, now our hand kind of does nothing. Like, we have 2 Urtais, which are fine. Like, the Urtais are fine, but they're very defensive. We don't have any milling. We don't have any varmint. Well, okay, there's a Prowler. Question is, do we need to leave up Urtai? We probably will. Our opponent can play, like, a Shieldred or something. Although I guess we could just kill it with Urtai if we had to. There is some argument for just killing the bat too, probably. Like, kill the bat. It's awkward that we let our opponent draw a card, but we do get back the Shoot the Sheriff, which then can kill something else. Opponent hits us to 19. Yeah, let's Urtai the bat, attempt to, see if they got a counter. So we can kill the bat, and then we can kill the Denick with the Shoot the Sheriff, and then Blanchwood Prowler? That's a reasonable turn. We definitely want to save the second Urtai for once we find a Rise of the Varmint. No counter. Ooh. Okay. The Revival's gonna be good at some point. Opponent down to 13 and do a little prowling. Can we get a land for once, Prowler? Please, don't just always betray us. You don't always have to do it. Oh, wow, okay. Not only a land, but a Technuma. Awkwardly, that's a land that I don't even know if we want to play. It might be better just to get an Urtai back from the graveyard or something. I mean, we're kind of winning on board right now somehow. Fairy Mastermind, yeah. Fairy Mastermind's not very good against us. I don't think there's anything in our deck that draws an extra card. Ugh, another bat. Well, I'm glad we held on to the Technuma then. So they can take the Urtai, but eventually we can take Numa and Urtai. Oh, opponent gonna get in for 2. Staying aggro. Our opponent is kind of getting low on life, right? They're down to 6. Maybe we just... Maybe we just win with the jankiest of beads. Like, that is kind of possible here. Is there anything that's worth revivaling? We don't even have a Varmints in the graveyard. Yeah, I guess we just pass and channel Technuma. Channel Technuma, get a... 99% is going to be Urtai, but we'll see. I guess maybe Chupacabra is better if we're just going to kill the bat anyway. Lord Skitter. All right, well, let's see what they target. They get to exile something. Wow, they're going for the land. See, the Analyst really throws people off. Like, the lands are the worst thing in our graveyard. And literally anything but the lands is more important to our deck. But our opponents saw the Analyst, and they are afraid to let the land stay in the graveyard. I think we just take Chupacabra, right? So we're gonna Chupacabra kill something. Urtai does the same thing, but our opponent gets to draw a card? Is there anything else we can do? Like, we could get the Analyst. I guess that's what our opponent's playing around, but we just don't really care. Wow, that's Rise of the Varmint, though. We got a lot of creatures in the graveyard. Let's Chupacabra Echoes. It doesn't feel like our opponent has a counter. This is very odd, but I think we actually just kill the Lord Skitter. The bat's gonna live. We swing with everything. Our opponent's gotta start taking some action. They dropped to 4. I mean, I'm still afraid that they're slow rolling a counter of some kind. It's not impossible. Yeah, back up to 5. There's the backside of Denick. We draw a Riveteer's Overlook. Let's keep waiting. We can Dryad's Revival, get back a Shoot the Sheriff. Shoot the Sheriff can kill the Denick, and we're just gonna keep attack. Like, this is again presenting lethal. Somehow this bat's gonna survive. Normally killing the bat's the obvious thing, but yeah, all right. Opponent does have a cut down, so they get a clue. So that means they're not quite dead yet. Hit ya. Down to 2. Overlook. Grab a land, gain a life. I mean, next turn is probably Varmints, just because what else are we going to do? Please don't bat us. I guess the risk of holding the Varmints so long is we could just get batted, and then we're going to be very sad. Back up to 3. Yeah, opponent's going to fire up a creature land to block. This does put our opponent down some mana, although they still have a counter amount of mana. I don't think this deck's playing Wraths. I would be surprised if they were playing Wraths. Down to 2. Well, pick like Pranksters. All right, well, 2 more creatures. This would play around and make disappear. There was a pause, but their pause could be because they could activate a creature land, right? Like, that would explain why it paused. You know what, we're gonna do it. We can't be that afraid. Rise of the Varmints. If you got the counter, you got the counter. You got the counter, Esper. Whew, okay, no counter. Varmints are here, opponent is not, and we are trying to make as many Varmints as possible in Standard this week, and Sam's got no Varmints, but we can fill the graveyard, and it does have Vermin, and Prowlers, and Chupacabras. And a random fairy, but... Oh. Well, let's just get on a Bladwood Prowler. Selesnya, eh? Mill... No, see, I'm telling you, Bladwood Prowler, it whiffs, like, every time on this card. Juki Naturalist. Jukai Naturalist. We can't kill that currently. Would you like to block, opponent? Would you like to block our Prowler? Eh? No. Alright, well, I guess we just do a little gnawing and a little milling. Well, there's all the lands we kind of wanted to draw. Alright, well, opponent untapping with a Naturalist is scary. They can't really attack the Naturalist into the Varmint. Oh, Calyx. I take it back. Now they can attack into it. And Calyx, well, I mean, I guess we had a lot of chump blockers, but Calyx is really strong. It's kind of wild how many pieces exist for the enchantment deck in Standard, and it's still not good enough to see real play. Like, there's a lot of support for an enchantment deck, and just not enough. Too many sweepers. Well, Fleesia Archaeologist. Okay, whiffs. I mean, when these cards whiff, it's fine, right? It's still fine. It's still filling the graveyard. It's nice when they hit and we get a Varmints or a removal spell or something, but whiffing is perfectly acceptable. Although Prowler, a little bit more painful. That's going to get big and scary. Come on, deck. We're milling all the lands that we need to be drawing. That is the downside of mill. I mean, it's not even a downside because it's random. It's psychologically a down. Mill 2 more lands. Whiff again. We've milled an absurd amount of lands this game. We're milling all the lands and milling ourselves into the non-lands when we really need 1 more land for our removal spells. Like, we got the Chupacabra to kill this Catilda and stabilize and be fine and probably win, but we don't have the lands to cast it, and this one might be over. Taunting us. We could play this to chump block. I don't think we can get back into it from this point. Yeah, howdy to you, friend. Budget magic time. We are rising the Varmints, and this hand looks pretty good. Mill. Wow, is this Boros on the play? All right, let's see if Varmints are better than the fastest deck in Standard. Actually, Mono Red might be the fastest deck now. I don't know, this deck's pretty fast. Opponent, land, gets in with the Novice Inspector. Wow, no follow-up? Oh, they must have Resolute Reinforcements, or else their hand makes no sense. If they're just cracking the clue, that is the worst Boros hand I've seen in a while. Well, play the land, get down the Archaeologist, do a little milling. Ooh, this time it actually hits. We will take a Rise of the Varmint. And, alright, there's the reinforcements. That makes sense. Well, let's see if they can... Ooh, Case of the Gateway Express. Alright, well, there goes our Archaeologist. Found it. Smacks us down to 16. Solves the case. We whiff on lands. Well, let's play this Archaeologist, which, in theory, is a good blocker. Opponent, Plains, Case of the Gateway Express. Oh boy. Okay, this is going poorly. So we drop to 10. They salve another case. Yeah, this is a bad spot to be in. We really need an untap land, I think. We need an untap land this turn. Oh, swamp. Okay. So I think we just have to mini Varmint here. Varmint for 4 is not exciting, but it will theoretically keep us alive. Can we wait? Is it possible? We can, like, Aftermath Analyst. Yeah, this might be better, actually. Let's be greedy. Aftermath Analyst. Mill some cards. Somnophage. No milling. Hopefully this keeps us alive. And sadly, we didn't mill very well. I was hoping we'd mill another creature. If they have, like, creature into Recruiter, then we just die. And we're going to regret not playing. Wow, they're just swinging? They're just swinging. I think we actually... I don't know if we can afford to crack this Analyst anyway. Yeah, let's just block and block. And again, Joe. All right, so Somnophage down. Sure. That gets 2 more creatures in the graveyard now, though. And now we get to make 7? Our greedy line, I think, paid off. And now we have way more creatures than the deck that usually has the most creatures. By far. Sanguine Evangelist. Good card. Not a Varmint. Are we going to win with Varmint? Are we just going to out-token the token deck? Opponent passes. I mean, let's do a little Prowler. 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 Okay. Good job, Prowler. Good job, buddy. You got us a swamp. Thank you. Yeah, let's go with a conservative little attack. I'm a little worried about these bats. The bats have flying, and we don't actually have an answer. Well, I guess Urtai's the answer to the second one. We can kill the first one here. So I think we just block. Block, kill the bat, take 0. Stay at 7. Get another creature in the graveyard. And then, actually, do we even... This is not quite lethal. Opponent's gonna... They got a bat block. Passing. Leaving up the Urtai, like, we have a lethal board as it is. We don't need to make more Varmints, and opponent scoops it up, and I can't believe we got back into that. Opponent had that fast start, solved 2 cases, killed all of our stuff, but Varmints, yes, that was very fun, Magic Gods. I mean, we're gonna keep it, but, whoa, sounds not ideal. Opponent, Schwamp. Well, drawing the Terramorphic makes this hand a little bit better. At least we'll get all of our colors of mana. So we get an island here. We can pick lock next turn. Forest. All right, this hand might be fine now. Drawing the fetch land actually really makes it much better. Opponent. Plains. Let's swamp. And yeah, let's just can't wake up. Wake me up inside. Never wake up. My God, that's one of those songs that I wish was not still in my head. I mean, it's nothing against that song, but Terramorphic expense and crag it and get green mana because we're gonna need it eventually. Even though our hand is very demure at the moment. Yeah, let's just do a little pick locking. 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's the Rise of the Varmints. That is good. Opponent draws a card. And, wow. Huh? They must be really desperate for lands. Pest Control is like a banger answer to Rise of the Varmints. Cycling that away is going to hurt a little bit. Well, we will. Gnawing Vermin. Mill and Mill. Oh, Fleet Archaeologist. Do a little milling. Oh, another Varmint. All right. I mean, the Varmints aren't big yet. They're only making... I mean, I guess... 4 mana make 5/2/1s is still kind of good, but they're not excessive yet. But we do have more milling. We kind of want to start plotting them, honestly. Opponent, Phyrexian Arena. This must be like Orzhov Control. Hitting a land's pretty good. Well, let's plot a Varmint. Play the fetch land. Grab. So with this deck, double black is important. Double blue doesn't matter. Double green doesn't really matter. Double black. So if you got the choice, you want one of each and then double black first, and then double green and double blue. All right, opponent. Another, a man after my own heart. All the Phyrexian Arenas in the world. Hope no one plays a shouldered against you, but you're gonna draw all the cards. Oh, oops. I may have clicked the wrong creature there. Good job, Fleet Archaeologist. Show him your mighty 0 power attack. Yeah, it was supposed to be a rat attack. Piglock Prankster, mill some cards. All right, shoot the sheriff, and let's run out a Somnophage. Somnophage, unlikely to win us the game, but it is likely to demand an answer, so it's not bad for clearing the way for a Rise of the Varmint. Opponent, land. I mean, Path of Peril, sure. Well, that makes the Rise a lot better. And a Liliana. From what we've seen from our opponent's deck. Well, all right, opponent discards a removal spell. We're going to go for it. Rise of the Varmints. We got the Urtai. If you got double Wrath, you got double Wrath. If you don't got double Wrath, I think we got you. Opponent, can you beat the Varmints? Can you? Path of Peril. Can you beat the Varmints? Can you beat the Varmints? Urtai counters the path. I mean, they still have mana. They still have mana for not another path, actually, but like Pest Control, Temporary Lockdown. Opponent, wow, they don't have it. They don't have it. They're taking down Lily. That's not going to work. You're not going to get through a Rise of the Varmints down taking Lily. Kills the Urtai. 1 mana left. Okay, plays a swamp. And our plan worked. Our plan worked. The Urtai saves. Opponent scoops it up. And, well, That's the power of Varmints. So what did we learn this week about Rise of the Varmints in Standard? Record-wise, finished with exactly a 50% win rate. Won 11, lost 11. I will also say, you probably noticed we were playing best of 1. Would not want to play this deck in best of 3. In best of 3, I actually tried it. The problem is, everyone's prepared for graveyard decks. Because the Teamer Aftermath Analyst deck is so popular, everyone's running Rest in Peace's Graveyard Hate, and this deck really needs the graveyard. Like, if someone plays a Rest in Peace, we kind of just lose because we can't make any Varmints, and the rest of our self-mill doesn't do anything. So Best of 1, I think, is the home for this. The deck doesn't work very well in Best of 3, but in Best of 1, it actually works pretty well, especially for such a super cheap budget deck. And we got to see throughout our games that Rise of the Varmints is actually really, really good. Like, yes, it is weak to Graveyard Hate. We already talked about that. Yes, you got to play a lot of janky self-mill cards to power it up, but it was pretty easy to make like 10 Varmints and just win the game on the spot. And we also saw like fairer Rise of the Varmints be pretty good against aggro decks. Like, we ran into the Boros Convoke deck, one of the fastest go-wide decks in the format, and we were able to just like Rise of the Varmints to make like 3 or 4 Varmints. That let us trade off with our opponent's creatures and buy us time to set up the big Rise of the Varmints combo turn later in the game. So the deck worked way better than I thought. I will say Control is by far the hardest matchup. So we talked about a little bit in the deck tech how Urtai is like our plan for beating Ras. We need to plot the Rise of the Varmints and then Urtai to protect the Rise of the Varmints. And that does work pretty well. And we saw us beat Control sometimes using that plan, like countering the Wrath. But against a like super dedicated blue-white Control deck, it's pretty tough because they just like counter our Urtai or they counter the Rise of the Varmints. And we only have a few Urtais. So I will say that matchup is pretty rough. Otherwise, I feel like we have a decent chance against aggro because we just play all these janky creatures and eventually build like a huge board. And against mid-range, we do pretty well as well. The one thing is just like Graveyard Hate. If we run into a Graveyard Hate deck, like they're just gonna get us. Like, we can't really do much about that. But as long as we dodge the Graveyard Hate and hopefully dodge the Control decks, Rise of the Varmints actually pretty good, especially for being so incredibly cheap. So that's Rise of the Varmints. That's been our budget magic for this week. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.